Rayman is considered to be one of the most underrated video game characters. For a kid these days, he's just an average forgotten gaming mascot, but to some adults, he's what shaped their childhoods. The franchise has been successful, spanning 3 games, a 4-episode cartoon, a number of mobile game spin-offs. Copies and projects were scrapped, including 4 attempts at a 4th Rayman installment. In this video, I'll be taking a deep dive into all of this, how it was made, why plans fell apart, and how it was leaked. Before we do that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel because as I start, I don't want to make more content for you guys. Now let's get into it. First, to learn about it, we have to go back to the 1980s when Rayman started out as the brainchild of Michel Ancel, an employee of the Ubisoft Montpellier branch. The character of Rayman was first conceptualized by Michel Ancel, who just started working on Ubisoft Montpellier. He pictures at the time and said in the game for an interview, quote, "I was around 14 or 15 when I started the program. 1987 or 88, a lot of people were talking about the ozone layer problems in the stratosphere, so I did a funny animation with the molecules of the ozone and the oxygen, and the added CFC bullying and breaking the oxygen. It was like a short animated movie. I sent this project to Ubisoft because they were doing contests in a magazine that they won a computer. I won nothing, but I got a phone call from Ubisoft. I was surprised because the magazine was not directly connected to Ubisoft. After I had come to Paris, I was quite young. I took a train from Montpellier to Paris. All of us was on a suburb of Paris, all graffiti, tagging, and dirt. Lost in the subway. It was horrible. I don't understand how my parents let me go alone. I was 8 or 9, my parents let me do whatever I wanted. This is good and bad." Rayman initially began as an Atari ST title. Atari ST was a popular computer which dominated Europe, especially France. Atari ST prototype had little to no done on it, and mostly SNES CD, which was a cancelled add-on for the Super Nintendo. The world received Luminous Wonder on September 7, 1995. The Sony PlayStation and other racing for other consoles such as the Sega Saturn and MS-DOS computers on the Atari Jaguar. Officially released in North America, it's one of the 3D sequel for PlayStation, Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, and PC, and in 2003, the third entry in the series known as Rayman 3 Hoodlum Havoc. take a seat because this one is bizarre. Binks' vision for the game began around 2004-2005, when did a hamper some of Ubisoft's game, making them my adult choice to make a new Rayman game. Back in October of 2004, word got out that Ubisoft gained the rights to make a licensed game based on the upcoming King Kong film, Peter Jackson's King Kong. So Ubisoft handed the rights to Phoenix Interactive for this finished Winnie the Pooh's Rumbly Tumbly Adventures, and it's unconfirmed when Rayman 4 began development. But it was stated publicly that it had been cancelled in May of 2006, and Robert said in his video stated that the game's overall development was 10 months. So Play began in development until August of 2005. The game was meant to be somewhat of a retelling of the first game, due to the series creator Michel Ancel stating that he was always taking the series back to its roots. The game was re-released, it would have been the first Rayman title in the franchise not to be developed by Ubisoft. Let's start off with some new discoveries, with concept art surfacing in September of this year. Supposedly, the plot would have been about a boy losing his arm in a gunshot mishap, and Rayman's journey being both a mental and physical reconstruction of the boy's body. The game would have been featured self-aware humor, and the story would have also been about Rayman being part of a training camp for Ubisoft video game heroes, specifically the Prince of Persia and Jade from Beyond Good and Evil. These would have been video game characters even in a fictional world where Dark Rayman, who by the way looks vastly different from his first appearance, the role of a glitch in the game's hardware. According to Rayman's video, Dark Rayman would have just been a small antagonist, meaning the real major one is unknown. I can't find a source for that, so be skeptical. If that is true, it would have likely been Dark Rayman, who appeared in the first game. The game had a concept art being created, and while the story is unconfirmed, it's clear that a story draft could have been made. I don't know how much texturing, special effects creation, modeling, and programming was made during the game's pre-production, as it didn't get very far, due to being cancelled after an unknown amount of time, because some sources claim it was in development for 4 months, while others claim it was in development for 10 months. On top of this game has been leaked over the years, with 2 new pieces of being leaked in September of this year. Those are Wiki to Picture City, with the other being a color version of the Dark Rayman. The game was meant for release on PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. The game featured a variety of skins for Rayman, such as the Gum Rayman, a Hedgehog Rayman, and so on. Some of them stated function for the game's final build. The costume and transformation idea was carried over to Rayman Raving Rabbids for the Game Boy Advance. Another piece of concept art shows Rayman piloting a submarine shaped like him. Mostly for Phoenix, Ubisoft canceled the project due to Nintendo showing off the new console, the Nintendo Wii, codenamed Revolution at the time, along with Microsoft and the new Xbox 360. Ubisoft was worried the console would launch earlier than expected and would affect their projects that were currently in development at the time. Wanting to look outdated, they cut all of Phoenix's funding on the game, wanting to build new Rayman games from the ground up for the Wii. So the cancellation of Phoenix's vision, and in 2009, the company shut its doors. Some environments were reused in Rayman Raving Rabbids Game Boy Advance port. The same year, concept art was leaked after it was published on Guillaume Bonamy's portfolio. Concept art showed a showcase in the unnamed Toy World, a location named the Organic World, and a clock named taking place called the Temporal Palace. In 2012, more concept art made by RZ and Lee Bon, Emily Berlin, Jeremy Goodid were one of the portfolio of Emily Bellman. The story shows the Pancake Factory, Picture City, Courses of Sand, Grandlands, Abandoned the Forest, Lyrics Agreement, and more will be seen. In March of 2021, a 3D render captioned Rayman prototype was found on the website of Gail Chiz, who's a 3D render artist at Phoenix. The question is Abandoned the Forest on April 14, 2021. The test released onto YouTube, but from a foreign developer after someone managed to get in contact with said developer.
Whoa! Hey! Hey!
On October 5th, 2021, Autodesk 3D renders were released by a Twitter account unconfirmed that they're authentic. This ran then the open area and layer of Dark Rayman. On October 2nd, 2021, more renders were leaked onto Twitter showing the same areas in the Picture City render. October 2021, piece of content are released on Twitter showing Rayman's Bigfoot and Hedgehog along with the memory resembling Hunter from Rayman Raving Rabbids. Game Boy Advance version. February 2nd, 2022, pieces of content are released onto a more differently designed and also Louis Origami. February 14th to Valentine's Day 2022, more images released to the public. These include 4 Autodesk 3D max renders of interactive room and layer and the gameplay mock-up. Next year, on January 7, 2011, more images leaked. Images of Battleland area, image of Picture City, the land there, Dark Rayman, and another image of the Battleland Forest. Rayman Raving Rabbids was originally meant to be an open-world 3D platformer. Open world is basically Super Mario Odyssey and Sonic Frontiers. This game's development began at the same time as the King Kong video game adaptation, as said by Xavier Foy, one of the game's producers. The game was developed by Ubisoft and was announced at E3 on May 11th, 2006 with a 9 out of 8, according to resolution at the time, Xbox 360, PC, and PS3. The game would follow Rayman battle a vicious army of rabbids, and the game would be simple. It made a 2006 interview with IGN. Mitchell Ansel said, quote, "It's a comedy, like Mount Moore's Attack or some Monty Python movies. I give this sound absurd and funny." The game was likely developed at the new Bulgaria and Mexico offices. The game had a late start as they were about to be introduced by Nintendo Power. They didn't even have an enemy yet. Creator Mitchell Ansel told Power community member Julie, quote, "Raving Rabbids. People ask me this question a lot. It's true that all it began with an idiocy, branches personality, which was often associated with Les Lapin, Clinton. Something not a marketing product or anything like that. I'm trained between Montpellier and Paris for a reunion. I drew a rabbit. We're in need of a new enemy quickly because both the Layback American magazine and the Power wanted to cover the new Rayman game. Because, well, with a Rayman game. So we were under a lot of pressure to come up with the enemies super quickly. Couldn't think it clearly anymore, so we just did what the first thing we came up with. The first thing we came up with was as a super evil ruler of the world was a rabbit. Didn't know he was the ruler of the world, he was very dumb and really evil. That's why he has those light blue eyes. He looks like he doesn't even think of anything at all. His brain is just empty. Suddenly he freaks because he doesn't understand what's going on. The plot would have been about the rabbits once being peaceful creatures were so nice that the other creatures take advantage of them. Rabbits retreated underground. Day by day grew more hateful. Been playing information since the first Rayman game. One day it rise out of the ground with more machines ready to take over their creative dreams. It's now up to Rayman to save the day. The game's entire power is to 2006 issue. Michelle Ansel said, quote, "All begins with an unexpected invasion from an anonymous enemy, crazed bunnies called Rabbids. They have lived underground since time immemorial, planning in secret, waiting for the day when they can make their presence known and take over the world." In an interview, Michelle Ansel said, quote, "Anyone else to save the world, his girlfriend, and the girlfriend of his old enemy too." It's a caricature of a video game scenario, but the more you play it, the more it's going to be surprisingly totally out of control. The series will find most of the characters they love, but in new situations, just because the rabbits weren't used for strange purposes. Can't tell anything else just yet. When he falls in love with is a female member of his own species, with the enemy being Andre, and Andre would have also had a girlfriend named Monique. What have also been later revealed that strange purposes would have been the rabbits selling them. This character would have been Jabba the Rabbit Emperor, who was inspired by Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars, as both are obese and have authority. Someone would have been able to play the rabbit along with baby glow boxes. With Rayman before being an enemy attempt of the rabbits actually being kidnapped. When Rayman would have decided to decide both the rabbits and their girlfriends. In the trailer, the game was referred to the game was also been a beat 'em up. The map shown in the trailer is referred to as in the files as Guerras de Montes Demo, meaning War of the Worlds Demo in English. The rabbits are meant to be different in both shape and size, possessing fur. There would also be a rabbit called Inspector Rabbit, whose model became the elven enemy referred to in its file as Durgle. Inside, do you hypnotize rabbits with Rayman's dance moves to leave them stuck in a trance? So there's one known as that Rayman could ride a spider, a bird, etc. The moment again after the interactive version was cancelled, with Rayman Rabbits being developed for the PS2. Favour eventually teamed up with my enemy on a train ride to Paris. Released by Ubisoft, it said, quote, "Rayman Raving marks the return of Rayman. Funniest and convenience adventure ever. When the world is run by disgusting invasion of crazy out of control bunnies, Rayman must rise up against these furry foes and foil their wicked plans. Seeing an array of amazing new abilities and the help of magical creatures, Rayman would need to break all out of what's best things to see the world from these curious bunnies and their hair-raising antics. It's a real pleasure to be back working on Only Rayman," said Michelle Ansel. "After wrapping up my last game, team here at Mobility sat down and talked about having some fun with Rayman in this universe. Getting into a bit of a problem though, because our game has been invaded by thousands of raving rabbits and suspicious bunnies. Apparently since the very first Rayman game. Now he's sitting and analysis to all motivated gamers help us get rid of these fast as possible. Here are the list of features you'll find in the new game. Combat the ultra crazy evil rabbits, taking control of Rayman and his knack for attack helps to withhold from the raving rabbits. They're mischievous, insane, and totally out of control. There are several types of rabbits and each with their own mischievous antics. Characteristics. Master and ride creatures, tame and control various creatures such as sharks, eagles, rhinos, spiders, and angelfish. Rayman could master each animal's unique ability as a chivalrous battle against the devious rabbit. Dress to impress, criticize and disguise Rayman. Go punk, pop, rock, or hip hop to retreat the rabbits and foil their devious plans. Explore the colorful, fantastic world of Rayman for amazing free-roaming environments and beautiful epic landscapes. It makes you feel classical styles to create a visually stunning experience. Series of development kits. They thought about making it a party game. So thought about it as a party game was when the Nintendo creative came and saw their work and said the deadline was, quote, too ambitious. And instead of comparison to make a party game, if they want to make it a game a week launch title. On January 3rd, 2022, two screenshots of the prototype were leaked, but it's unknown if they're legit. and Christmas miracle happened. Its source code was leaked on December 24th, 2022, Christmas Eve. With the level editor and can be modded. It leaked originally on Fortnite but was since been removed, but can be downloaded on the Internet Archive. Most sites have reported on this, and we have found some cool stuff in here. This on Windows 8.1 outside on the box. Also free to play on Windows 10, but requires an input controller. Unfortunately, it runs too fast on modern hardware. There was a patch in January of 2023 by Medigoose, Truly, and Halsey. This is part of production. RIV is like one will never get it. Or will we? Introducing Project Reburrowed. This is a fan project where can you realize the prototype with expanded levels. The episode 8 light world with open world gameplay and having Wii motion control support but unconfirmed. Fortunately, as of now, there is no release date. Personally, it will probably come out on the 25th anniversary of the original Rayman Raving Rabbids, which is November of next year. There will be a mode for prototype rabbit models called Proto Mode. The game will feature basically everything from the prototype. This includes Simone, Andre, and Monique. On Dwayne T. Burrow, they are currently looking for more developers. CDGC resume from previous works, or else they probably won't accept it. Once they think that. Rayman 4 was in development yet again from 2007 to 2009, and suddenly he started the Rayman quote. Meanwhile, alongside Moonplayer's work on creating the new engine, before the project has already been launched in Montreal, Mitchell and Michael Donald worked on the secret project from 2007 to 2009 based in Paris. The concept of this potential Rayman 4 was supposed to be entirely done 3D. There were fewer than 15 of us working on its design. After Ubisoft thought we needed to find a gameplay feature that would set it apart from the rest of the series, somewhat like the Little Planets of the Galaxy in Super Mario Galaxy. Yet I found it was very good, but extremely complex. In any case, we've always wanted to go back to the roots. But the old characters from the first Rayman, like Living Stones, we wanted to take what was striking in the universe. Box, the lumps, even pirate robots from Rayman 2 in order to make everything even more coherent. When we asked about the Rayman's thing that was supposed to set the game apart, Michael Genoa gave us a smile. We don't know anymore. We don't bother using this element in the future game. In the game, there would have been a girl named CL. However, her role is unknown. A possible reason for its cancellation was because at the time, Rabbids Go Home released. It's possible Ubisoft wanted to focus on the Rabbids, thinking it would be more successful. Started Rayman, they say that there was a prototype for a Rayman game that was made in 2013, PS4 and Xbox One, but was about development for a month and was scrapped due to Rayman Legends selling poorly. I want to say to everyone that's coming to this, thank you so much for me. If it wasn't for you help on to make this video, thank you so much for my 9 subscribers. This would take a long time to make, and I even spent money on the magazine for research, so please subscribe. Thanks everyone. Have a good day.